So, this afternoon, a chance for you all to show us how up-to-date you are on the topic of how clued up are we about conservation. Now, here's the hint. This is going to be rapid fire. It is a quiz, and there will be applause for those. So, keep a score of them at your table of the answers that you get right. There will be a prize, but it won't be revealed until the end. Okay. When is Conservation Week in 2017? Is it September the 23rd to the 30th, October the 14th to the 21st, or November the 4th to the 11th? Quick fire, you've got 7 seconds. This table here. They're clueless, right? Next. 4 to 11, you reckon? October, you've got it right, okay. So everyone else put money in the box. Okay. And the theme is Love My Backyard, and we're also already pretty good at doing that over by the Governor-General's residence, but think about your own backyard. Okay, biggest threat to our native animals: possums, stoats and rats, rabbits, goats and horses, or urban development. This table. An overwhelming call for A. You can all put money in the box nevertheless, because we all need help to get rid of them. The answer is, of course, possums, stoats and rats, and there is one of the little beasts. We wish we didn't have them. Possums threaten Pahutakawa and Rata by damaging the roots of the trees, eating the leaves, buds and shoots, or breaking branches off. Okay, now I shall tell you this is adapted from a quiz for school children. You know, the bar's not too high. All right. Keep putting the money in the dish. Okay, creating a garden for lizards. What is the best thing to do? And yes, you can do this in Wellington. Table over there, what do you reckon? A, B, B, lizards climbing trees. Well, they kind of do, but no, that's not the one. The answer is A, lots of hiding places. Boxes have their place, but hiding places are good. And this one here, 2 places you'll find this: the spotted skink in Wellington. Supplementary question, where are they? Zealandia and Matthew Soames Island. You can see these guys. So which of these is not a weed? The cabbage tree, the climbing asparagus, or the banana passion fruit? Okay, these ones are easy, aren't they? Yeah, it makes you feel good, so feel even better by putting money in the dish, please. The name of this plant disease? Myrtle rust. You've been reading your newspapers, and it's coming our way, sadly. So we're all going to have to be vigilant on this one. And affecting, of course, Pahutakawa, also our rata, which is threatened in the Wellington region. Which river animal appears on the New Zealand $10 note? No cheating, no looking, okay? And is it a native animal? Okay, quick round your tables. Anyone got it? Put your hands up if you've got it. Who said blue duck? Absolutely. All right, you guys. Everyone else can pay. These got there first. The Fio, or blue duck. Who's seen one? Hands up if you've seen one. Beautiful, beautiful animal over the other side of the Cook Strait. Freshwater crayfish, or kura, are dark green in colour. True or false? Put your hands up if you think that's true. So the rest of you can pay. Okay, it is true. There it is, beautifully coloured to fit in with its surrounds. Wetlands are important because of any of those 3 reasons, or all 3. Okay. Put your hands up if you think A, B, C, all of the above. Yes, very good. Okay, well, keep contributing, please. Now, last question. What is this, and why does Zealandia have an interest in it? What is this creature? A miniature wallaby. Close. Keep going. Need the name. And nobody's to look up Mr. Google either. What is this? I've heard rock wallaby over here, miniature wallaby. Wallaroo. Yes? Not quite. It's a bettong, an eastern bettong, which is a mini kangaroo-like marsupial. But why does Zealandia have an interest in it? Well, just across to the ditch in Canberra, it's been reintroduced, doing the same sort of process as we do at Zealandia within a fence sanctuary, but this one's in Canberra. And this organisation, the Woodlands and Wetlands Trust, is the sister organisation for our own Zealandia here in Wellington. So another form of trans-Tasman cooperation. This has nothing to do with conservation. Which Australian Rotary Club has now promised to send at least one team to the Rotary Club of Wellington Jumbo Tennis Tournament? Come on, hints. Canberra, the Rotary Club of Canberra, where I spoke last Monday. And the prize is, actually I have brought back a fine bottle of Cat Amongst the Pigeons wine from Canberra, which will be going into the raffle or prize draw for Jumbo Tennis. Thanks everyone, well done, put more money on the plate.
Kia ora koutou, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. I've got 5 points for my 5 minutes. The first point is about suffrage. That women were given the vote is a myth. It was a hard fought-for battle, with women organising petitions for every year for up to 6 years. The last petition to Parliament in 1893 contained the signatures of 32,000 women. That's more than a quarter of the women that were in New Zealand at that time. And you can imagine organising this with no email, no cell phones and no Facebook. Imagine the mammoth task they undertook. The second point I'll make is around the arguments that were put against the suffrage, why women shouldn't vote. The first one was that women voting tampered with the natural order and would cause a breakdown in society. And a lot of the political cartoons of the day focused on burnt dinners. The other argument was that only men were really suited to the rigours of political life and public life, and delicate lady voters would be jostled by the drunken men at the polling booths. My word, polling has changed over the time. Point number 3, I think this is the best quote. It's from Henry Fish, who was a Dunedin Member of Parliament, and I quote him. Giving women the vote would be analogous to taking the blossom off a peach. You would destroy its beauty. Dear Mr. Fish. My point number 4 is, as much as these statements and arguments do seem a bit ludicrous, and how we celebrate how far we've come on, I question, have we? We've all seen similar themes arising with, think about the questioning of a senior politician about her family intentions. Have we really moved so far in 124 years? And my 5th point would be women in public life in New Zealand. If we extend public life to, say, women in business, currently 25% of New Zealand Stock Exchange listed companies have no women directors, a third have only one, and there is only one woman CE in a stock exchange listed company in New Zealand at the moment. So perhaps we need the modern day equivalent of those petitions again. Thank you.
Thanks, President Peter. Guests and fellows, I'm delighted to introduce to the club His Excellency Rob Zaagman. He's the Ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to Fiji, Kiribati, New Zealand, Samoa, Tongan and Tuvalu. There was huge competition back in The Hague for this job in Wellington, and Rob managed to beat off 15 other contenders. Rob's worked for the Dutch Foreign Ministry in Munich, The Hague, the UK, New York, and he was a professional officer with the Royal Dutch Army. Rob and his wife Monique have 2 adult children who are living in the Netherlands and the United Kingdom respectively. In his spare time he likes reading history books. The beauty and birds of New Zealand have inspired him to take up recreational photography as a hobby. Rob has been a Rotarian twice before, in The Hague and Munich. Recently, Rob wrote a very balanced and insightful article on the very topical subject of euthanasia, which was published in the Dom Post. Hopefully, at one stage, we might be able to convince Rob to talk to us about that. With Rob's commitment to the Pacific, he's joining the International Service Committee. Our chairman, Nick Hurley, is currently overseas, as you would be for an international committee man, but we'd like to welcome you to that committee. Thank you.
Rob, it's a great pleasure to welcome you into our club after your application was approved by the board and then endorsed by the full membership of the club. The Rotary Club of Wellington welcomes you because you've shown yourself to be a worthy representative of your vocation, committed to the ideals of Rotary, and are clearly willing to do your part in putting these ideals into practice. Since Paul Harris convened the first meeting in Chicago in 1905, Rotary International has gained a reputation for service that's unmatched throughout the world. Through your induction today, you are now a full part of this international Rotary service team and are joining 1.2 million and 7,915 Rotarians in 35,399 clubs around the world. Our principal motto is service above self, and the objective of our club and other Rotary clubs is to encourage and foster such service. All members are aware that everything we do is guided by our four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Your proposer, William, will have outlined the expectations we have on your attendance at our luncheons and your involvement in our extensive range of committees and trusts. We'll do our best to ensure you enjoy your Rotary journey with our club, and we value your help in maintaining the robust standards our club has achieved. President Peter.
Thank you, Hewitt and William. It gives me great pleasure, Rob, to give you this reading. You like reading history. There's a bit of history in there. Happy reading. This is your badge to wear. It's got a star on it to designate that you're a new member for others to recognise. And this is your Rotarian pin to put on. Makes you welcome to those gazillion clubs that Hewitt was just talking about all around the world. Feel free to make yourself known at any of those at any time. We really look forward to having you in the club, and as I've said to others as they join, getting involved in the committees and getting to some of the social events is the quickest way to get to know some of these good people. So we look forward to seeing you there. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Up the east coast of the North Island, Rangatane in the Wairarapa have signed their deed of settlement, and their legislation's gone through, just about ready to sign a deed of settlement with Ngāti Kahungunu, including over Wairarapa Moana. And then up the island, pretty well everything's done up there, apart from a small dissentient group on the outskirts of Gisborne. Come round into the Bay of Plenty, just signed terms of negotiation with Te Whānau Apanui around Te Kaha. Ngāitai still got a wee way to go, signed an agreement in principle, John Luxton with Whakatauia the other day for $100 million, that relates to a potiki. Into the Bay of Plenty, a lot of that has been done. There are still some overlapping claims between the Tauranga groups and the Hauraki groups, but we've made very good progress there. That great iwi of the central North Island, Tūwharetoa, has been signed up. Ngāti Raukawa around Takaroa has been signed up. Most of the Waikato is done. Into Auckland, most of the Auckland iwi are now, I was going to say settled, but some of them are very unsettled because there are always overlapping claims, and overlapping claims are the bane of my life. Into the far north, most of them are done except for Ngāti Kahu, which is led by an academic called Professor Margaret Mutu, who I think prefers to sit in her office and write about grievance rather than overcome it. And then there's Ngāpuhi, which will go nowhere until there is a change of leadership, until there is because some of the people there, in my line of business, we're dealing with iwi, you either get on with it or get lost. Some of them are not getting on with it, but they haven't got lost. So that's a process that needs to be worked through. And I talk to people, Ngāpuhi, as you could imagine, it being 130,000 people, has got some outstanding leaders, or people who with Ngāpuhi descent, like Ralph Norris, or Peter Cooper. And I said to Peter Cooper, why don't you get involved? He said, oh, they can stew in their own juice. So there's a way to go there. But when certain people go, that one will come together very quickly, and so it should, because it'll be a massive settlement, and there are so many issues up there that need to be addressed. Come down into that beautiful King Country area. I signed an agreement in principle with Ngāti Maniapoto just before Parliament folded, $165 million going into that area. Fantastic opportunities there. Come into the Taranaki and all settlements are there except for the Ngāti Maru out of Stratford. All the others are done. And we also have to address the issue of the mountain, and I'll come back to that in a minute. And one of the highlights of my life, I have to tell you, was to go to Parihaka with Andrew Little, the then leader of the opposition, Jim Bolger, former Prime Minister, a whole swag of members of Parliament. The Chief Justice came along to sign an accord with Parihaka. For those of you who don't know the story, do acquaint yourselves, because it was a blot on New Zealand history, and it needed to be addressed. And after all those years, we reached a stage where we could apologise to Parihaka and have that apology accepted. Others have tried, but we'd reached a sufficient state with treaty settlements in the region, I think, it was the right time to proceed with that. And the only jarring note was I always receive unpleasant letters from people from time to time, but I received a number of letters from people after that asking me for chapter and verse on all the rapes that had occurred, and I found that profoundly distasteful. But anyway, we got there, and you know, you can go right around the country and people will talk about Parihaka, because they know that it was an important event in New Zealand's history. Jim was there with me. Jim's a very dear friend, and he told me that he and Joan grew up not far from Parihaka, and they never once heard the story when they were growing up. So that's why I personally think it's so important to get out there and teach New Zealand history. When I was in my last year at St Pat's, I was very lucky to learn about the Stuarts and America between the centuries, you know, such giants as Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge. But I have to tell you, I think that I would have profited more from studying New Zealand history, but politicians can't set the curriculum, teachers do, and that's the way it has to be. But I would certainly think that the time is coming when New Zealanders should be learning about their own history, because above all it's so interesting, as the London Review of Books said once when reviewing one of Jamie Bellich's books on New Zealand. So that's another one that, if you're looking at highlights over the last 12 months, another real delight was legislating for the Wanganui River. And what we did with the Wanganui River was provide that the river owns itself. And it sounds a rather weird concept, and the river is represented by 2 representatives. But I was being interviewed by The Economist on the subject a couple of months ago, and a woman who was interviewing me said to me, "Oh, are you aware about what a court in India has just done the other day in relation to the Ganges and Yamuna rivers? They've given them the rights of a person." And so all around the world there are different ways of dealing with things, but and there are very common things, and quite, although I do have to say the court in India had referred to the Wanganui River example. So while on the face of it it may seem nutty to give legal recognition to a natural resource, actually it's not all that strange when one analyses it, and corporate form or legal personality are quite useful tools when dealing with those issues. And there's a lot of work to do on the Wanganui River. Basically, it'll never be fixed up until somehow the Tongariro power development is altered, but that remains to be seen. And we did a similar sort of thing in relation to the Uraweras with Tūhoe. Last week, they wanted me to go up because they were launching their conservation plan for the Uraweras, and I had the great pleasure of flying over the Uraweras, and just, if you've never done it before, it's an unbelievable part of the country. It's probably, Rob, just about as big as the Netherlands, actually. It is a massive former national park. It should never have been a national park because it always really belonged to Tūhoe, and public access guaranteed, and Tūhoe are going to manage the show with a majority of board members, and I can tell you now, nothing will change. Well, no, one thing may change. When people go into the Uraweras, I hope that they're not going to be monstered like they have been in years gone by, because people inadvertently have been trespassing on Tūhoe land. So, a very positive, bipartisan, intergenerational piece of work. John Luxton was in Cabinet when this work started. And I think we can be very proud we're making good progress, and indeed if you get through the remainder of the work which is currently on the books with the Office of Treaty Settlement, there are going to be 6 more negotiations to get underway, and then that's it, and then we've been through it. But we have to be careful that we don't allow relitigation. I have had a concern about the issue of water taxes and paying royalties to Maori. If you pay a royalty, then it's a sign that there's some kind of economic interest or property interest, and it's no good to say, oh, we'll only pay it prospectively, because there'll be people who will stand up and want it paid retrospectively. So that's an issue I wouldn't go there myself, and what I have always done, be it the Rangataiki, the Kaituna, the Manawatu, whatever rivers, always involve people in the co-governance of the show, but do not allow any question of ownership of water to arise. Water is owned by no one, and if you start to get into property rights in water, then I think it's a very serious problem. So that's me. My task was best expressed by Paddy Gower some years ago when I was appointed Minister in charge of the GCSB and the SIS. He said, your job is to make this particular area boring. And I have succeeded, I would hope, unless something goes wrong, I've succeeded beyond my wildest expectations. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
We've got time for a couple of questions. John.
That was excellent, Minister. Would markets help the water allocation issue, though? Because I'm thinking back in comment that who owns water? Well, if we rely on markets, there has to be some kind of structure around dollars in that case.
Yeah, it could do. I know that that's one of the issues that's been looked at, but I'm so terrified by the prospect of people saying if you have tradable rights or whatever, you're into property rights type issues, that I do get very nervous about it, frankly.
Minister, there was a top-up provision with Tainui south. Has that been implemented, and will it apply to all current negotiations? And is there a benchmark? Minister Graham at the time said $1 billion, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was a top-up after that. Where does that stand at the moment?
Yeah, John would know better than I would, because it was September 1992. He would have been in Cabinet. $1 billion in 1992 was fixed, and it was agreed that if that 1992 figure was breached, then there would be the top-up payments for the 2 iwi that were the first out of the blocks to settle. And so that figure was breached a couple of years ago, and it is reflected in ongoing arbitrations that we're having with Tainui and Ngāi Tahu to determine, and the arbitrator is Sir Andrew Tipping, to determine what's in and what's out, what's properly brought into the equation, being a figure that goes towards a settlement or a non-settlement figure, and we're working those things through at the moment. I think by the time we settle in 2017 dollars, the amount which will be required will probably be close to $3 billion. And basically that's what Sir Graham Latimer prophesied years ago.
Thank you, Minister. I don't think we've got time for more questions. If I could call on... would you like to sit down? Thank you.
Minister, thank you for being with us today and for such a riveting tour of New Zealand and the treaty settlements. Congratulations on those successes, particularly those that have occurred in your tenure. I think you are the second longest serving Attorney General in New Zealand history, and you are the longest serving Minister for Treaty Negotiations, I believe, as well. Third longest? Third, okay, I thought you were second. Oh, well, maybe you'll become third. And on that note, can we wish you all the best for the next week? We know it's going to be very stressful for you and other politicians, and should you be on the winning side on Saturday, it would be great to see you continuing on with the treaty settlement work, because you have 6 more to complete, and I'm sure you would be able to do so within a 3-year period. Can we acknowledge the Minister in the usual way?
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Minister. Okay, so looking forward, upcoming speakers, upcoming events, upcoming speakers. That's all right. Okay, so 25th of September, David Matthews on Disability Action. 2nd of October, Jenny Gill, Giving It Away, How Hard Can It Be? 9th of October, Sumi Subramanian, Health in the Pacific. And October the 16th, we've got Ian Cassell's, I think, coming out of the forum, his dream for Wellington, or a topic similar to that. In terms of upcoming events, we've got 33rd Thursday this week at the Wellesley, and Friday at 5. So it's a big week for having a drink at the Wellesley. Remembering on the 2nd of October, Jenny Gill is going to be available before the lunch for those that would like to talk to her. And on Tuesday the 28th, 4th of October, we've got the evening for what matters to young Wellingtonians that our youth committee is organising. So register for that and get along to that. I think it's at 5:30 in the evening. And of course, we've got the singers to listen for. You'd have seen a bit of material about that out there already. It's going to be a great evening. The early bird tickets are now on sale, so make sure you get your place and get out there and organise those. Now, for our club members, is there anybody that would like to come up and have an announcement, tell us about something?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Excuse me, please. Thank you. Thank you, Kia Tato. On behalf of the Rotary Community Services Committee, as you know, Rotary has long supported the blood pressure checks and Stroke Week. I must admit, we're currently involved in nursing a sister-in-law who's in her 50s, just had a stroke. It's the silent killer, and every year, thanks to Rotary's support, a couple of people are identified and either sent off to hospital or sent off to their GPs immediately. We need you for 2 hours only outside a supermarket to host and shepherd people in. We don't have to take the blood pressures. The Wellington Free Ambulance do all that work for us. But on the 7th of October, we need at least 8 volunteers. We don't have any at the moment. There are some pink slips on your tables. So on behalf of Karen Coots, there are some contacts there. You can either put your name on there. I'll be standing outside. If anybody is willing to do 2 hours of taking names and shepherding people on the 7th of October for Stroke Week. Thank you.
For some reason, the Youth Committee always comes after the high blood pressure Stroke Week thing. I don't know. There's no connection. I'd really like to encourage you all to come along to our evening event on the 24th of October. I've been doing the legwork inviting all the young people that we have a connection with through this club, and they're numerous. Eureka finalists, the people who've participated in RILA, that kind of thing in the last 12 months. So it matters a lot that, of course, the whole idea is that we get to listen to what's top of mind for those young people and look for ways that we might be able to connect up and work together with them on things that matter to them instead of things that matter to us, like our own blood pressure. So not to denigrate the idea of Stroke Week or all of those things, but come along on the 24th. You have no other Rotary commitments that week. Make that Tuesday evening the one you come to. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Members, I have a statement to read regarding our website, and guests, please just excuse this side note to members. As most of you know, an unfortunate email was sent out to our members on the 3rd of August regarding the club's new website. The content of the email caused a lot of concern within the club, both for those mentioned by name and others who were upset by the implications. The board took the matter seriously and has consulted with all parties concerned. The result is that we, the board, would like members to know: A, we stand by the website. We believe the new site is the right platform for our club now and in the future. We are very happy with Flight Deck and the service that Fraser and his team is offering us. We are very grateful for the wonderful job Rebecca has been doing in administering the website and the many hours of additional work she did to get the website up and running. She has our full support. The member who sent the email has been spoken to and has acknowledged that she should not have sent such an email and will be apologising to those concerned and apologises to the wider club for her actions. We recognise that, like any new website or IT project, there are some more improvements that we would like to see implemented over the next few weeks and months. To help focus on where these changes would be most beneficial, we are asking members with suggestions or concerns regarding the functionality or content to pass their feedback to President-elect Marion Cowden. Any and all debate about this issue should now be considered closed, and if you have any queries regarding it, please address those issues to me or to members of the board. We remind everybody of the code of ethics that we observe as members of the club and the four-way test that we as Rotarians must adhere to. We are all volunteers and looking to make a difference in our communities, and it is imperative we respect the efforts of our colleagues and work at all times in a supportive way. Okay. Thank you everybody for coming along. Thank you to our guests. It was a pleasure to have you here, and we'd love to see you back here at any time. And my parting thought for today, I was trying to find something about suffrage that wasn't 2 paragraphs long to read, and unfortunately I just couldn't find one in time. So the quote I've found is attributed to Anonymous. It says, and you made the reference, Minister, to golf: live life like you play golf. Don't forget the follow-through. Thank you. Have a good week.
Need you for photograph. Excuse me.